Hello, friends. The 977 days of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. At the end of the outgoing week, the situation escalated sharply in several areas of the front. First, around the city of Siladovy. Russian troops broke through to the village of Yevhenii to the west of the city, cut off part of the communications coming from there, and also put the road to Pokrovsk under direct fire. Siladovy was under threat of encirclement. At the same time, the Russians were advancing inside the city, capturing the main fortified area of the Ukrainian armed forces neighborhoods with high-rise buildings. Russian telegram channels claimed in the morning that their army controlled most of the city, with the exception of the western part, from which Ukrainian troops were already leaving. Ukrainian sources did not confirm the withdrawal of troops from Siladovy, but the military of the armed forces of Ukraine admitted that the situation in the city was very difficult and Ukrainian units had to retreat to the western part of the city. Already in the evening, a Ukrainian fighter with the call sign Yevhenii reported that Russian troops had completely captured Siladovy. Regarding Siladovy, I will tell you how it is. Our guys are coming out from the northwestern flank. Our drone operators are still working in the city and striking at enemy concentrations, but the city is already completely under enemy control. Yevhenii to the west of Siladovy is also under enemy control. They are currently clearing it out, the soldier wrote. Meanwhile, a video of the installation of a Russian flag in the center of Yevhenii has appeared online. This settlement was an important logistics point for the Ukrainian armed forces for supplying Siladovy. To the south, Russian troops captured the city of Gurnik, neighboring Izmailivka, and began an assault on Kurakivka, a settlement south of Gurnik and northeast of Kurakovy. This is also confirmed by the Ukrainian military. A soldier with the call sign Yevhenii writes that the enemy was able to take Gurnik completely under their control. Our guys are still in the city in the basements. The fate of some will be unknown. Others who were able to retreated to Kurakivka, for which fighting has already begun, he said. According to him, if this pace continues, then Kurakivka will be taken in a couple of days. He sees the dismotivation of personnel and the incompetence of commanders as the main reason for the retreats. According to the map of the military telegram channel Deep State, Gurnik is half captured, the rest is in the gray zone. At the same time, Deep State confirms the data on the advance of Russians in the Oleksandropol area south of Kurakivka. The Ukrainian military previously reported that the entire village was already lost. Thus, Ukrainian military expert Miroshnikov writes that our soldiers retreated from Gurnik because there was already an operational encirclement there. They also retreated from Izmailivka, Oleksandropol, and the remains of Zoriani. The enemy is actively pressing on Kurakivka. Urban fighting has begun there. There is another escape route from this entire pocket, but it is not reliable. I don't think we'll be clinging to Kurakivka for long, because the threat of encirclement is looming on the horizon, Miroshnikov reports. At the same time, the Russians are trying to break through to Kurakovy from the north, for which they are actively storming Novosladivka and Novodmitrivka, where they have also advanced. This potentially creates a threat of encirclement for the Ukrainian armed forces garrison in Kurakivka. Further south in Katarinivka, according to Ukrainian military personnel, the final stage is already underway, and soon the settlement will also come under enemy control. A major Russian offensive has also begun on the southern Donbas front. The Russians made a 7-kilometer dash to Shakhtarsky from the side of Zolotan-Nieva and consolidated their position there. Then they attacked a little to the east the village of Novokrainka, advancing almost 4 kilometers. North of Vuhledar, the Russians entered Bogoyavlenka and announced the capture of this settlement, publishing a video from there with the raising of their flag. Let me remind you that Ukrainian troops retreated to this village from Vuhledar. It was believed that Bogoyavlenka would be a new line of defense of the armed forces of Ukraine. Ukraine did not confirm the loss of Bogoyavlenka, but Ukrainian military telegram channels initially wrote about the advance of the Russians to this village and that they entered it. This evening, the Muchnoy fighter reported that Bogoyavlenka is under enemy control. Also west of Velika Novosilka, the enemy captured Yevhenii, the Deep State Telegram channel reports. The advance of the Russians in Yevhenii was officially confirmed by the defense forces of the south. That is, in total, in all three areas, the Russians are advancing on the southern Donetsk front, 20 to 25 kilometers wide. An offensive by Russia from the south, with simultaneous strikes from the north, could pose a threat to all Ukrainian army forces southwest of Donetsk, and especially to Kurakovy. The movement from Velika Novosilka to the north, as well as the counter-movement from Siladovy to the south, is apparently the enemy's goal to cut off Ukrainian communications west of Kurakovy, and either force parts of the Ukrainian armed forces to retreat to the borders of Donetsk region, or encircle them. That is, this week Russian attacks in the Donetsk region have sharply increased, and the advance of the Russian army has accelerated significantly, which speaks of a growing crisis for the Ukrainian armed forces in the areas from Siladovy to Velika Novosilka. Military analyst for the Bild newspaper Julian Rupp believes that the front of the Ukrainian armed forces in the south of the Donetsk region is falling apart. In the south of the Donetsk region, the front is falling apart. On a regional scale, we are talking about a loss of 2 to 5 kilometers per day. At this rate, Russia will need 6 months to reach the Dnipropetrovsk region, he wrote. Rupp reports that over the past 3 days, the Russian army has captured 8 settlements: Hetivka, Bogoyavlenka, Izmailivka, Oleksandropol, Gurnik, Siladovy, Shakharsky, and Yevhenii. He blames the situation on Western allies who are sending few weapons. We can admit that our current support leads to Ukraine losing this war before our eyes, and that the Ukrainian leadership cannot find any means or ways to stop Russia's advance, Rupp writes. He suggests that NATO lift all restrictions on strikes against Russia and start shooting down Russian missiles over Ukraine with NATO air defense forces. At the same time, there is another point of view among the Ukrainian military and experts on the reasons for the mass retreats, that the problem is the lack of personnel, and many positions are simply untenable. There are relatively enough weapons and shells. Indirectly, version note 2 is confirmed by the sharp tightening of recruitment into the army in Ukraine, the suspension of the reservation process for mobilization, criminal cases against the Medical and Social Expert Commission, and talk of a new reduction in the mobilization age, as well as new raids on the administrators of Telegram channels who reported on patrols of territorial recruitment centers. Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.